I know you're not used to me in a collared shirt, but today we got court with LIEnette in Florida. Anything could happen. The biggest question most of you probably have is if you've already have a civil protection order against LIEnette and John CROOK from Ohio, how in the world is there a court date in Florida? When George and I officially announced on a live stream that we were pursuing a civil protection order in Ohio after LIEnette contacted our mayor in our local village, LIEnette scrambled. She scurried. And you go, how do you know this? Because she's so foolish, she posts all of it all over the internet, Facebook mainly. And so she runs down to the local Levy County Courthouse, begs for what's termed an injunction, and she's denied. And then she runs down and she scrambles again, and her words, not my words, runs straight to the courthouse to get an injunction, and she's denied a second time. And then she runs and she scrambles to get an injunction, and she's denied a third time. So what's happening now is LIEnette has filed for an injunction. Even though she has a civil protection order against her already, she's trying to do the exact same thing we've done to her. Court doesn't care about feelings. The court doesn't care about what you think. The court only cares about facts. And the facts have already been shared through video and screenshots and text messages and voice messages that these two, they are a harassment, and they are unhinged and dangerous, not only to myself and George, but to all the residents of Otter Creek. Now, this is going to be an interesting process because you already have civil protection orders. And we have found out that the court is not a safe place for LIEnette to be within that 500-foot boundary. No more than it is for John CROOK to be in the middle of North Otter Creek Avenue. No matter what he's doing, no matter what circumstance, any situation you can think of, the law clearly states 500 feet away. And these two should never put themselves in a position where they're ever anywhere near or closer than that to us. As we share these aspects of our lives with you, it's for educational purposes and entertainment. And as we've said from the very beginning, never act on our behalf. Never do something illegal. There should be no contact with anybody in Otter Creek. Please allow us to handle everything legally in our lives. This video is a vlog of our lives and should never be misinterpreted as communication with any individual in Otter Creek, out of Otter Creek. It's for George and I to document, keep accountability. YouTube is the largest media outlet in the world, sharing stories in huge cities and small little towns. It truly is the press of today. So now they have to go into the Levy County Courthouse. Our lawyer is going to have us remain in the parking lot, go to the judge, make sure the judge realizes all of this, and then we'll proceed however the judge wants to proceed. Now, we're hoping it doesn't get thrown out immediately. There are a lot of things we want this judge to see, and we want this judge to declare or make a motion against LIEnette. Come on, we got to protect the child, we got to protect the animals, we got to protect the residents of Otter Creek. All three are in danger from these two. Our lawyer has seen the turd, purgatory. It's definitely, we should just call it a turgatory.
I thought it was a skanktuary.
It could be a skanktuary, a turgatory, you know, it's more or less a turgatory. Turtle, purgatory, turgatory, skanktuary, what George calls it. But what's going to happen, our lawyer's already seen it, we've gone by it, we've gotten footage, pictures, the whole deal. It is a mess, and it's only getting worse. Now, our lawyers also interviewed personally many of the residents of Otter Creek, if needed for testimony today. Some of them will actually be at the courthouse, and our lawyers actually told some others, you know what, we're not going to need your testimony. We'll call on you if we need you later, which we appreciate. And one of the things he said, my goodness, Jeremy, you definitely have a strong backing in Otter Creek, which I found odd. And I don't use that term often because LIEnette has literally posted that 98% of the people in Otter Creek love her and John.
That's a high percentage. I can count off 21 people right now that do not support her, and that doesn't equate 98%.
20, you can count 21 right now?
21 right now.
Count me in, 22. We have the option of requesting to have this hearing recorded, which we are going to do for us because we're still proceeding with other hearings in Ohio. Contempt of court. They're going to go after them for fines, monetary fines, going to go after them hopefully for jail time, and the list could go on and on because they have broken these civil protection orders literally every single day. We're going by Purgatory right now, and you can see it looks worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Oh my goodness, the turtle's got to be begging to be saved. This is not the place. Not the place.
That white sign is still on the ground.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of things on the ground in there. Lots of things on the ground. We're stopping for lunch before court with some of the locals who will be giving testimony and witnessing today, if it goes that far. We also have every single sign that was hung up by LIEnette and John CROOK themselves in Otter Creek. We're headed to the courthouse right now. LIEnette is right up here in front of us. Now, she can't be 500 feet near us, even though we're at the courthouse. There she is. There's the Jeep right there. Literally right there. We're coming up on her right now. She's backing up towards us. Right now, this is illegal. So she's parallel parking.
The
now,
courthouse is right
the
here.
courthouse is right there. Illegally right next to us. Now we're going to go around her. There she is with John, the abuser. She, in her court paperwork, called John an abuser, told the judge that he's abusing her, and they have a child. Now what we have to do is wait for our lawyer to say, yes, come in, or no, stay out. So the civil protection order was just broken again. They're not allowed to be anywhere near us. We heard that Russ the Sus is here too. That's why we're actually going over here. We're going to go see Russ the Sus. Where's the little gray building? Do you see it? We were just told
right here.
Russ the Sus is over here. Do you see it? It might be over here. Russ the Sus. We were hoping Russ the Sus would be here. That's a playground. And we were told that he is here. So we're gonna go back around, see if we can find him. Let's see what we can do here. Maybe
a
vacant gray building. His Green Ranger is there, which we think is pretty funny, considering these two said such vile things about Russ. Now Russ all of a sudden needs them because he's being called out on all of his garbage and the things he's done to the residents. And they have nobody else to go to except a corrupt former mayor. Was it down here? Might have been down here. So residents of Otter Creek saw Russell get out of his Ranger at one of these vehicles over here. I'm not seeing it. Do you?
Mm-mm.
I don't see it either. Okay. Okay, somebody just texted me that LIEnette just screamed to John that I broke the civil protection order by driving by them. There is no civil protection order on me. There's only a civil protection order on them.
Right, your life does not change.
That's it. My life doesn't change. Their life changes. I'm not seeing Russ the Sus's vehicle. You think he ran away?
He could have saw.
They saw him walking into the courthouse, and his vehicle's parked over here somewhere. I really want to see. This is going to be interesting. Yes, we're getting all of this recorded as well, all of it. So the entire trial, if there's any trial at all, we don't even think there's going to be a trial. We think it's going to be interesting and fun if we get to actually be on trial with them and share the actual evidence. But Ohio has already ruled on a ton of that. All right, do you see any gray buildings over here? Unfortunately, we did not find Russ the Sus, but he was in the area, then he was gone. So the locals saw him, we just didn't. And court is now over, but it's not over. I'll explain that in just a moment. So the session did go into session. Now, the first thing that people want to know, though, is, Jeremy, if you have a civil protection order against LIEnette and John CROOK, and Levy County Sheriff is not enforcing it, is there something that you can do, or why aren't they enforcing it? All right, let's back up a little bit. We got the civil protection orders in Ohio, okay? The civil protection orders are very clear. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you the verbiage right now. This protection order is enforceable in all, what does that say, George?
Counties.
In Ohio, and what?
50 states.
50 states. Is Florida one of the 50? That's right. Legally, this must be enforced in the United States, all 50 states, not 49, 50 states, right there, all 50 states, the Districts of Columbia, tribal lands, and U.S. territories. All right, so number one, you're going, if that's true, which it is, this is the legal documents right here. I have both of them, certified legal documents. If that's true, isn't Florida at fault? And the answer, the short answer is sort of. Okay, the real answer is yes. All right, Florida has all of this in their hands as well. All of it. Levy County Sheriff has it in their hands. State Attorney has it in their hands. They know they legally have to enforce it. So there's this thing called domestication in Florida. If you have a motion, or if you have something along these lines in Ohio or another state, then they go, well, you have to domesticate it in Florida. Well, that is not true for any civil protection orders. It's automatically a part of the process. It goes into the federal registry. Remember where it said it's enforceable in every single state? It goes into the federal registry. So here's the issue. When the clerk of courts in Ohio actually put this in the federal registry, the only thing they put in the federal registry is no contact order. But when we look at the actual order, such as this right here, court specifically notes that the petitioner and respondent are neighbors and at their properties located in Florida. That this court order is issued in Ohio must be given full faith and credit pursuant to the Violence Against Women Act 18 U.S.C. 2265. The court further notes that when the parties are located at their own property, that the distance is reduced to 10 feet. When the parties are not on their properties, their respective properties, the distance remains at 500 feet. This order includes any internet and or electronic communication. Now that's against LIEnette and John CROOK. So LIEnette then goes and opens up a whole new Facebook page and posts publicly every single day breaking the protection order. So does the sheriff know that it's 500 feet? Yes. When we're on our property, when I'm on my property, which is straight across the street from their property. Remember, they stalked us here and wanted to be right next to us on purpose, stalking us to Otter Creek. And the funny thing is they were actually complaining to the judge in court. There's 100 cars a day going down our road now. And then she changed it to 15 cars a day, and we never had any cars. They're the first people that stalked us to Otter Creek, and now they're the complaining that other people are coming to Otter Creek. You think that's a little bit of an oxymoron? Everybody knows it's 500 feet. It doesn't matter if it's a private place or a public place. That's also in all the paperwork. And I'm not going to show you every word of verbiage in the paperwork. There's plenty there. It's online. It's public information. You can figure it out yourself if you really want to dig that far for it. So when they're on their property, 10 feet. So remember when we were coming up on the road and John CROOK is blocking the road, who in the world measures their fence on a road? But the next day is actually building, I can't even call it a fence. I really can't. I mean, it is not a fence. It's
an eyesore.
It is garbage. Who adheres garbage to more garbage around their property in the middle of the road? And you hear me say two things. Two things is all. First of all, I stopped so he can get onto his property, which wouldn't have mattered because I was not on my property. My property, remember, a road is 12 feet. My property's on the other side of the road. Their property's on the other side. If they're on their property, I'm on my property. There's no 10 feet. It's a 12 feet road anyway. He's in the road. He must be 500 feet away, period. He's not on his property. If I'm on the road and he's on his property, he must be 500 feet away because I'm not on my property. So I say I stop and give him the opportunity to actually go onto his property, and that he doesn't. I say 10 feet, and he still doesn't. So I keep going. 10 feet. He still doesn't. And LIEnette is literally encouraging him to keep doing what he's doing. In other words, get him in jail, get him keep breaking that civil protection order. She was breaking it as well. I was not on my property. The verbiage is extremely, extremely clear. Why aren't they taking care of this? The clerk of courts in Ohio inputted it into the Federal Registry. It doesn't say 500 feet. It doesn't even say the 10 feet when we're on respective properties. All it says is no contact. So what the state attorney is saying, now, hold a second. I know what you're saying. But Jeremy, they have the legal paperwork in their hands. Yes, they've been given multiple copies. Levy County Sheriff has copies. The state attorney has copies. And you're saying, Jeremy, legally, by being part of the United States of America, they have to enforce this. Yes, they have to enforce this. So in other words, the Levy County Sheriff is breaking the law. Yes. Under the guidance of the Florida state attorney right now, saying that the only thing that they'll adhere to is the Federal Registry, which literally just says no contact order. So they didn't put all the details in it. They just said there's a no contact order from Jeremy Hales and George on LIEnette and John CROOK. And so the attorney is going, well, the only thing we're going to enforce is no contact. So in other words, according to the Florida state attorney and according to the Levy County Sheriff, LIEnette and John CROOK could be right here on us right now within an inch, a millimeter away from us. And it's not illegal considering what they're stating. So I know what you're thinking. Jeremy, you're going to have to sue the sheriff or the state. You're completely and totally correct.
Keep going, John. You're all right.
10 feet.
You're all right.
10 feet.
You're all right, John.
John is within 4 feet of our truck right now. And he's communicating. He just said, suck his... But John CROOK was in the road. No big deal, right? Well, the courts seem to think a little differently right there. This order includes encounters on public, and private... What does that say, George?
Roads.
Does that say roads?
Roads.
That says roads, highways, and thoroughfares. And it continues to go on. They may not be in any public or private facility at all. Doesn't mean if it's the sheriff's station, which we are dealing with that currently in Ohio when they broke it at the sheriff's station. And Levy County Sheriff said, oh no, they can be here, it's safe. No, they can't. They broke the civil protection order. You go, well, they were at court with you. Legally, they can't. They broke the civil protection order.
We can hear you.
I know, she knows what my car looks like.
Okay, do you have anything?
Yes, ma'am.
Us that can go in here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. No rush. No rush.
Respondent accidentally comes in contact with protected person. That would be me and you, George, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. In any public or private place. What does it say?
Respondent must depart
Immediately. Does that mean LIEnette sees your vehicle? LIEnette then parks next to your vehicle at the post office. LIEnette opens the door, looks at your camera filming her, goes to her P.O. box, and then leaves the post office after talking to another resident. No. That means they leave immediately. Does that mean John CROOK just stays in the middle of the road? And LIEnette goes, you're okay. You're okay. And then he tells me to suck his... Does that mean that? No, it means they depart immediately. Does it mean they can stalk us to the sheriff's station? Oh, and then when they see us illegally parked in the handicap, then they go park right next to our vehicle, which they have publicly stated that they are going to throw nails and screws. Which, by the way, I just had a screw in my trailer tire, didn't I? Just days ago, George.
Yeah.
You think that was CROOK?
It could have been.
Or was it LIEnette?
Either one of them. They're both unhinged.
Remember, all these things are happening before this actual court date in Florida. And George and I did arrive on our court date. And our lawyer said, okay, the court now knows there's a protection order. You can come along inside. We have seats reserved for you. Now, we had an appointment at 1 o'clock. What George and I didn't realize is that in Levy County Court, particularly with injunctions, what they do is they take everybody who's filed for an injunction or who's fighting against an injunction, and they all come at the same time on the same day, and they're all in the courtroom together. So there were roughly 25 people in the courtroom, and so we saw injunction after injunction after injunction, some thrown out, some granted, some tweaked, and then ours was saved for the very end. And the reason is because LIEnette had, oh geez, George, how many pages of transcripts did Lizzie Bailey print up for LIEnette? LIEnette didn't even do it herself. Lizzie Bailey did it. How many pages was it?
According to the Levy County website,
Yeah.
338 pages.
But there's more on top of that. And there will be more. As a matter of fact, this will be a part of it as well. We have no doubt. But truth is truth, regardless. I mean, she can twist, and Lizzie Bailey can actually put the wrong information out there as well. If it's not shown as evidence in a video, it didn't happen. As a matter of fact, the judge threw out it's not Lizzie, it's Lizzie threw out Lizzie's transcripts because it's all hearsay. It's third party. It means absolutely nothing. So that all got thrown out, and the only portion that we got to, well, let me back up a little bit. The one thing I'm going to say very, very, very positive about this judge is this judge will hear all aspects of everything. And that means we get to share everything in regards to the neglect and abuse of animals, children, and residents of Otter Creek. We get to show the screenshots. We get to show her own voice, talking about guns being shot off into stolen campers. We get to share literally everything. And he is granted that time to hear every aspect. Now, most judges, there's so much on a schedule. Hey, let's get to it. So what happens in a court case is you have two different parties, right? You got the plaintiff, you got the defendant. In this case, in Florida, LIEnette is the plaintiff and I'm the defendant. So LIEnette's going, all right, he's harassing me, and here's 400 plus pages of proof of it because of videos. Now, you've got a couple of issues there. Number one, I've got freedom of speech going for me. Number two, I have the aspect of press. I'm actually sharing a story, and it is a big story. Now, where do I get my information for the story? Well, this is going to be huge in the aspect of court. I get it from LIEnette. All of it comes from her post, everything that she shares as a public figure online. Period. It's all from her. I know, you're going, Jeremy, what about the moles? You're going to have a mole-tastic Christmas. LIEnette is the biggest mole I've ever met in my life. She gives it all to you for free. So it's just me responding to what she is posting publicly about herself as it is anyway. So she's complaining, saying it's harassing, yet she's the one that's putting it all out there publicly. So what we did is we went into court, and we went in at 1 o'clock, and we went in with some of our witnesses as well, residents of Otter Creek, and seats were reserved for us, and we started our trial at 3 o'clock. And so what happens first is the plaintiff shares the aspect of their complaint. And again, this judge will let you share everything that's on your mind, which is a positive thing, because once it comes to our side of things, going to be overwhelmed with evidence and witnesses and the whole deal. So 2 hours worth, it was LIEnette saying he's doing this, he's doing that, and here's stacks of pages, and him going, well, that's not admissible, that's third party. One of the things that was asked, she brought in character references from Marla Huge and other, Heather Marion, individuals. Every single letter this woman has never met before in her life, ever. Not even Marla, who lives 10 minutes away. And the judge goes, okay, well, are they here as witnesses? And she goes, no, they're all scared of being attacked if they come here as a witness. And yet you don't think that's an issue, that their letters are now public information? I mean, anybody can get this. So they weren't scared to write a character reference report for you, which they don't even know you. You've never met any of them ever. Not even the one that lives the closest to you.
The rest all
So-
live out of state. They
so-
can travel here.
It doesn't matter. Judge threw it all out anyway. He said this is ridiculous. So, and it is. It's absolutely ridiculous. You're trying to submit character references for people you've never met in your life that would never even show up. And she goes, no, they're all scared. They live out of state and they have no money. They can't travel to Levy County, to Otter Creek for you. And so that got thrown out immediately. And basically, in a nutshell, the judge listened to LIEnette for 2 hours. So from 3 o'clock, then it went on to 4 o'clock, then it went on to 5 o'clock. The court shut down at 5 o'clock. We didn't even have an opportunity to cross-examine yet, let alone plead my part of the case in defense, and then she would then cross-examine me. None of that happened. As a matter of fact, I would say roughly 10% of the case has actually happened. So the judge had to do a continuance. And so now we have another continuance for another court date, another time, same day, same time. I'm sure we'll be in the courtroom. Everybody else will go first because ours is so large. We'll be last. And then it will probably go for another continuance. And then it will probably go for another continuance. In other words, this is far from being done. Far, far from being done. There's so much information to go over in the court. We're not just in the Florida courts, though. We're in the Ohio courts still. Just because we have the civil protection orders doesn't mean jurisdiction ends. It doesn't mean anything ends. As a matter of fact, things have intensified. John Crook and LIEnette have broken the order every single day. So this past weekend, I had to fly back to file for contempt of court. And as such, all of this evidence, all of this information you're seeing is being filed literally right now. Right now, it's being filed before a judge. And you go, okay, well, Jeremy, what kind of repercussions are there, or what kind of consequences are there for John and LIEnette? Well, you've got some major things. Number one, this time I'm going after them financially. I am going after every aspect of financials that I've had to pay in regards to what they've done to us and as they continue to do to us. And you go, well, okay, well, you can't get milk from a dry udder. You can only get kicked off the milking can. That's great, but I can submit it all to creditors and they can get milk out of a dry udder. All right, number two, there can be an arrest. And so Ohio has full and complete and total jurisdiction over this. And so there could be a warrant for both of their arrests. Number three, which we are going for by all means, everything can be increased. It could be multiplied. So now it could be 500 foot. Now it could be 5,000 foot if the judge determines. And now I'm not saying the judge is going to do that, but the judge can alter this in any shape, way, or form that's legal in the state of Ohio, which must be enforced in Florida, which then brings you to the point, okay, but Florida isn't enforcing it. That's another issue that we're dealing with. And yes, we are dealing with it actively, even at this moment right now. But Jeremy, you were lost all weekend. You weren't even on the live stream. I was flying back from Ohio to land in Tampa, where Ramses 2 is. Coming back, major storms. We were circling, and then the plane ran out of fuel. They rerouted us to Jacksonville. We had to land in Jacksonville. We got fuel in Jacksonville, and then the crew was no longer legally allowed to actually be on the flight to go back to Tampa. And they rerouted us to 6 a.m. the next morning. This morning, to go back to Tampa to get Ramses 2. What I did instead was spend another $206, which legally I will be going after LIEnette and John CROOK for, to get another rental, because all of this I've had to do because of them. So I'm going after them financially. I had to get another rental, drive back home to Otter Creek from Jacksonville. Now I have to pay employees or myself to go back to Tampa and get Ramses 2. And the tab just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.